This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Tonight, a manslaughter charge. The family of a Cape Breton man reacts after a man is arrested in his disappearance. Canada Post strike. Local charities are feeling the pinch thanks to the labor disruption. And letters to Santa, how volunteers are helping keep the holiday spirit alive.
Well, the sunshine beautiful today, and that trend continues into the weekend. Chilly temperatures, but high pressure dominating. Your full forecast is coming up.
Good evening. The family of a Cape Breton man who's been missing since the summer say they're relieved now that police have arrested a man and charged him with manslaughter. As the CBC's Kyle Moore reports, police are promising even more arrests in the murder of Justin McDonald.
For more than 5 months, the family of Justin McDonald has been searching for their son's whereabouts. Today, they finally received some answers.
Emotionally drained and mostly good that because we finally got some news of what's been going on and that there's finally somebody charged.
Last month, Cape Breton Regional Police labeled the case a homicide. Now they've charged 38-year-old Mitchell George McPhee with manslaughter in McDonald's disappearance. He is in custody and is due in court on Monday.
I don't have a clue who he is. I don't even know what he looks like. I've never met him before, so I know nothing about this person.
We need closure for our family, so it's our first step in getting that closure.
McDonald was last seen at a gas station in North Sydney last July. His car was found about 25 kilometres away in a rural part of CBRM, but his body has not been found. McDonald's mother, Peggy, says she's confident police will get to the bottom of it, but says not knowing where her son is taking a toll. The family has posted pictures under an overpass in Balls Creek where they believe something happened.
It is known to us that this is the last place Justin was alive.
We did reach out to police today for an on-camera interview, but they say their investigation is continuing and no additional details can be released while further charges and arrests are pending. Kyle Moore, CBC News, Sydney.
The federal government is intervening in the Canada Post strike. Labour Minister Stephen McKinnon is sending the dispute to the Canada Industrial Relations Board.
Not only have the parties been able to show any progress towards an agreement, the federal mediator has now informed me that the negotiations between both parties are now, in fact, going in the wrong direction.
If the board determines negotiations are at an impasse, it's directed to issue a back-to-work order. At the same time, an inquiry will examine why talks have failed. Its scope will include the corporation's structure and business model. The union has denounced today's move as an assault on collective bargaining and the right to strike. The impacts of the strike continue to be felt across the country. Local charities and nonprofits here in Nova Scotia are among the many groups experiencing the consequences of this dispute. The CBC's Selena Alders reports.
Canada Post employees walked off the job 4 weeks ago. Up until now, negotiations between Canada Post and the Canadian Union of Postal Workers have been unproductive. Canada's Labour Minister says many organizations, including charities, have been significantly affected.
Direct mail fundraising is a main way of securing critical annual donations, and all this fundraising has been jeopardized during this dispute.
Parker Street Food and Furniture Bank was unable to send out thousands of its letters appealing for donations. They rely on these funds for their annual Christmas hamper, which provides toys and food to over 1,000 families in the Halifax area.
We have a lot of donors that don't have the means of using internet to do online donations, and so we've seen a significant reduction in our Christmas hamper donations, yes.
Local divisions of the Salvation Army are also taking a hit. They typically send out over 2.5 million pieces of mail across Canada at this time of year.
That's our main funding source for our Christmas assistance and those year-round programs that are meeting families at their most basic need.
Brigadoon Village in the Annapolis Valley is a camp for kids with chronic health conditions. They would usually receive tens of thousands of dollars in donations through the mail in the 8 weeks leading up to the holidays.
It was kind of on par for the first couple of weeks, which was really, really great. But now we're seeing that it's slowing down.
Brigadoon offers a pay-what-you-can model, subsidizing 85% of its campers. Smith says this is only possible because of the public's generosity.
Parker Street, Salvation Army, and Brigadoon have all tried to get creative with different kinds of online campaigns, but because of the labor disruption, they say nothing has been as effective as their traditional mailing fundraisers. Selena Alders, CBC News, Halifax.
All right, so for mid-December, it sounds like a pretty decent weekend ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Temps a little cool for this time of year, but the trade-off is a ton of sunshine. And I think given the last few weeks, we will take the sun any day of the week, especially if it falls on a weekend. And how about the Friday that was? Yeah, lots of sun today. Temps, yeah, a bit cool, but closer to seasonal. You can see we're in the -1 to +2 range for most places. Tomorrow, a little bit cooler, no doubt. Highs in the -2 to -4 range. Northwest winds sustain near 20, gusting 30 to 40, and so that will keep a little bite to the air, no question. You're going to be feeling more like -6 to -10 when you factor in the wind chill, but overall, it's going to be really, really nice. And then as we look ahead to the Sunday time period, a very similar forecast. Temperatures -2 to -4 for most cases. Cape Breton a little bit milder, and yeah, as we look into next week, we're going to hang on to the sunshine even into the start of the week. So 4 days with the sun back to back. It's been a while for sure since we've seen that. There's the area of high pressure. It does wander off to the east on Monday, keeping us in the sunshine. Now, Tuesday, we've got another system approaching. That is looking mainly like a rainmaker, but later next week, tracking a system that may indeed have some snow in the mix across the Maritimes. We'll talk more about that with your 7-day forecast still ahead.
All right, we will indeed. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
In 2024, Nova Scotia's food inflation rate has mostly been higher than the Canadian average. And a new food price report says that will likely be the case again next year. Andrew Lamb explains why that is.
In 2025, food prices in Canada are expected to go up between 3 and 5%. And here in Nova Scotia, they're once again forecasted to increase at a higher rate than that Canadian average. That's according to an annual food prices report published by a group of Canadian universities. The lead author of the report says that's because Nova Scotia and other provinces in our region don't process much food. That's operations like canning fruits and vegetables that get food from farms onto grocery store shelves. That means we have to import a lot of what we eat, leaving us more vulnerable to economic shifts like higher energy costs and the falling Canadian dollar. Even when we can produce our own food, it might need to get sent elsewhere to be processed. All those transportation and fuel costs add up, meaning groceries can also often be more expensive here than in other regions.
Everything's trucked in. Absolutely, and our port doesn't really serve us well when it comes to food because a lot of the food that we actually get through ports go through Montreal, not Halifax.
Let's take a look at beef, for example. In Canada, the number of cattle we have is the smallest since 1987. Less supply and strong demand mean beef has hit record high prices recently. In October, the average price of beef strip loin cuts was about $25 per kilogram in Canada. But in Nova Scotia, it was nearly $5 a kilogram more than that. We also import vastly more beef from other provinces than we produce and consume at home. But what if we could make and process our own food? Well, that might be a challenge. The president of the Nova Scotia Federation of Agriculture says over the last few decades, we've lost food processing capacity across the board. Our smaller population likely played a role in that.
Some of that processing capacity has moved out of region and other neighboring regions where there's more population density and easier access to markets and maybe on the supply side easier access to supply as well.
Melvin says bringing back food processing capacity to the region could make food prices here less prone to big fluctuations. To do that, he says we need to take a comprehensive look at what processing we need in Atlantic Canada and strategically invest in those areas.
It's taken that high level 10,000 foot look first to see what's needed, what would be viable, what's going to work well for both the producers, the farmers in Atlantic Canada, as well as the net result for consumers on the back end too.
Melvin says with things like the worsening effects of climate change, though, it probably won't get any easier to keep the cost of food under control. Andrew Lamb, CBC News, Halifax.
The Nova Scotia Liberal Party will not be moving ahead with the court case they began during the election campaign. A month ago, they accused PC candidate Susan Corkum-Greek of trying to buy votes by handing out coffee cards to people waiting in a Tim Hortons drive-thru. A statement from the Liberal Party president says the party will not pursue the case in Lunenburg any further. The action tried to have Corkum-Greek disqualified as a candidate. Premier Tim Houston says not going ahead with the case was the right thing to do.
It was a volunteer that made it. It was just a volunteer doing what they thought was right. Made a mistake, possibly, but the case should have been dropped. I'm glad it was dropped.
Houston did not reappoint Corkum-Greek to his new cabinet this week. He says the case has no bearing on his decision. Former Halifax Mayor Mike Savage took the oath of office as Nova Scotia's new Lieutenant Governor today.
Good afternoon. This is what my Fridays look like.
Savage, who was also a former Liberal MP, is the 34th Lieutenant Governor since Confederation. Premier Houston says Savage has demonstrated a long-standing commitment to the public service. Savage succeeds Arthur J. LeBlanc in the position. Halifax is a step closer to shutting down a pickleball court that has drawn noise complaints from neighbors. A city committee agreed the Castle Hill Court in Rockingham should close. Courts are just 10 meters from a multi-unit building with other apartments and single-family homes surrounding it. Pickleball coach Cara O'Leary says she understands the complaints, but losing the outdoor courts is tough when other sites are also busy.
A lot of people show up and it's busy and they just turn around and leave because otherwise you'd wait 45 minutes and that can be a long wait when you just want to play. So yeah, there's definitely a demand for more courts.
City staff will look at whether a nearby tennis court can be converted to pickleball. The final decision on the court's closure will go to Regional Council at a later date. The ongoing Canada Post strike has paused mail delivery, including those critical letters to the North Pole. But as Nicholas Sagan shows us, volunteers are pitching in to keep the holiday spirit alive, passing letters to and from the man in red.
These firefighters are making a special delivery all the way from the North Pole, ensuring one magical Christmas ritual continues on.
Hey, Jack. My name's Firefighter Jack. Here you go. Ready for Santa Claus.
With Canada Post workers on strike, kids can't mail those all-important wish lists to Santa. And Old St. Nick can't mail back his response. More than 1 million North Pole-bound letters pass through Canada Post offices every year.
Did you hear about the strike? Like, were you worried your letter wouldn't get to Santa?
Yeah.
Yeah. We did talk about it because I said, I don't know about the letters this year.
That's why these volunteer firefighters are stepping up.
All kids love the fire trucks and the fire scene, and we're just so excited to be able to keep this Christmas tradition alive.
Groups like this across the country have found a workaround, becoming elves themselves, collecting letters and delivering Santa's response.
What did he say back?
He said, ho, 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 greetings from the North Pole.
We see lots of struggles every day in our jobs, and to be able to do this, it really is just cleansing for us.
Magic mailboxes are popping up in other places too, like PEI and Newfoundland and Labrador. And all the way across the country in North Vancouver.
The whole community came together to kind of have, that festive spirit, even though, we're not receiving mail from friends and family, but we have our secret elves.
As for the temporary elves...
Oh, wow. We got a lot today.
They say they'll do whatever it takes to deliver Christmas wishes. Nicholas Sagan, CBC News, Wolfville, Nova Scotia.
There's a look at the moon from earlier today. Ryan's up next with his forecast. Yeah, you were talking earlier about the sun, the return of the sun after a long absence, it seems.
It does feel like, I mean, we've had some glimpses of it, but no stretch like this in a long time, and weeks and weeks and weeks. And so we will definitely soak it up this weekend. I'm sure a lot of folks maybe heading out to get their Christmas tree this weekend.
Good weekend for that.
Great weekend for that. If you've got some last minute Christmas shopping to do, present.
Confession time.
Yes. So it's going to be a great weekend for that. Skies also clear, though, overnight, which is lining up nicely for stargazers. Have a look at this. The Geminids meteor shower is peaking tonight and tomorrow night, and just at the perfect time for us. It is going to be active right through till Christmas, but most impressive for the next 2 nights. As we look off towards the north and east, this is when where you'll see most of the action, especially between midnight and 2 a.m. So if you're out walking the dog later this evening, do have a look up. Now, temperatures right now, already starting to cool off, no question. We're in the 0 to -4 range across the province right now. 2 on the plus side at Sable. Always get some folks saying, hey, that's not the exact range for the province. Of course, Sable, also part of our great province. And yes, 2 on the plus side there. So want to make sure we mention that. Current winds, you can see, in from the northwest, sustained 10, 20, even 30 kilometers per hour in exposed areas. Westport and Beaver Island sticking out, as well as Sydney, just shy of that. And gusting 30 to 50 for Cape Breton. Winds are going to continue to be steady through tonight, but not so gusty, as we will watch a couple of flurries in the mix for the next couple of hours. Right here, you can see them already developing from the Bay of Fundy, pushing off towards Kentville and edging into Hants County. And these are going to sail across the central parts of the province, and also some onshore flurries developing here for Inverness County. That's going to be a story right through tonight, right through tomorrow, and we'll talk about that in a second. There's the area of high pressure that is dominating across the northeast part of North America, bringing some very chilly air with it. And you can see temps very cold right down through the Great Lakes, even New York City right now, -1. So it is definitely cool. Now, what we're going to be watching is that air mass to continue to move overhead and keep things cool for tonight. There's that chance of flurries pretty much across the board for this evening. And then late evening into the overnight, that's when the skies will really kind of clear out. And we are looking at partly cloudy skies at the very least, with the good chance of seeing that meteor activity. And there you can see, even by late this evening, that activity starting to ease. We're looking pretty good towards midnight. The exception will be Inverness County, and you folks looking at those onshore flurries right through the day on Saturday with that northwest wind coming in across the island. We are looking at mostly sunny skies developing into the afternoon for mainland Nova Scotia. There's the snowfall outlook. So this is tonight, tomorrow, and tomorrow night. So really the next 36 hours, and a widespread 5 to 10 centimeters. For Inverness County, a couple of bullseyes up towards northern Inverness that could be in that 10 to 15 range, down towards Port Hood and Port Hawkesbury, looking more like 2 to 5 centimeters by the time we get through Sunday. Trace amounts across the rest of the island. And yeah, temperatures tomorrow, -1 to -3 across the mainland. We're going to be in that -2 to -4 range with those northwest winds sustained near 20. -1 along the south shore, though. That'll be one of our hotter spots. Very similar temperatures on Sunday under that mostly sunny sky. We are looking at those lighter northwest winds on Sunday. High pressure moving off to the south and east, and that will again open up the door and allow this next system to move in. Southerly winds with this. This is going to be a rain event from the get-go on Tuesday. In fact, it looks like it's not going to arrive until the afternoon, with showers. Steadier rain possible Tuesday evening into the overnight, and then still mild on Wednesday. Chance for a morning shower in Cape Breton. I did put that on there in text just to remind you of that. And then there's the Thursday system that is looking more likely to bring snow to New Brunswick, but could see some snow depending on the track here for Nova Scotia, with maybe a messy mix. So we'll keep you posted on that, and certainly check back if you have some travel plans, Amy.
Definitely. All right. Thanks for that, Ryan.
Thank you.
Coming up, a milestone anniversary. The Halifax Central Library celebrates 10 years serving the public. Saturday marks the 10th anniversary of the opening of the Halifax Central Library. I'm here with Osa Katchen, CEO and Chief Librarian of Halifax Public Libraries. So, a big monumental day coming up this weekend. How many people do you think have come through the doors here?
Well, we estimate about 11 million people have been through the doors. So it's been a busy 10 years.
Well, what do you hear from the community about this space?
So this space, I don't think it's overstating it to say it's transformed the community. It is a public space where people tell me they always run into someone they know, or if they didn't know someone, they meet someone new. So it's a core public infrastructure that connects people to each other, connects them to knowledge. It is a space that is alive with a wide variety of programs and activities every day. To me, it represents a new generation of public libraries where not only can you bring a cup of coffee, you might grab a snack or participate in a shared
No shushing here.
No shushing here. No. Although we do have quiet pockets, and I think what's interesting about our community is what people need every day is different. Sometimes somebody comes because they're feeling their home is too quiet or they don't have a home, and this is a place to connect with people. It's also a place where people come for quiet reading, quiet reflection and learning. There are some lovely pockets on the 4th floor where the quiet people gather. So we aim to be what anybody needs us to be in a day. So fascinating.
Well, walk me through the design of this building inside and out.
So this building is about 120,000 square feet. It was designed jointly by a local firm, Fowler Mitchell, and Schmidt Hammerlassen, a Danish design firm. What I love about it is the views, the transparency of the building. As people come down the street, there's a real glow that comes out from the library that intrigues people and invites them to join in. And I love that we gave excellent space to our teens. So that front part of the 2nd floor is just, teens used to be hidden back behind. We've given them perfect real estate in this house to really have fun together and connect with each other.
Now, a lot of people think the outside is books stacked on top of each other, but that was not on purpose?
Well, no, it is what it looks like.
Yeah.
But I chatted with the architecture back around the time we opened, and he said it just sort of happened that way. What they were really thinking about was a cantilever that could look out over Spring Garden Road. They really wanted to preserve the views of the harbor. And then there are some structural benefits to having a building that is not perfectly smooth down the side in terms of even how the wind flows and how it settles into the neighborhood.
Do you have a favorite space here?
Well, I arrive sometimes in the morning before anybody else, and I really love to go up to the what we call Halifax's living room on the 5th floor. It gives me a chance to sort of see the water, see my community. This community has changed profoundly in the last 10 years. When the library arrived, I looked back at some of the old photographs. We still had empty parking lots around us, and we now have more people, more connection, and I really love that this library has helped to shape our downtown and has been really something people have been drawn to.
I can hear the laughter in the background while we're chatting. That's something you're proud of.
I'm really proud of that. I'm proud every time a newcomer says to me, this was the first place I met somebody and made a friend. I love seeing the children run in with delight. I love seeing seniors who come every day. And it might be to read a newspaper, grab a cup of coffee, and I love seeing people connect with each other. What's really interesting about the design, particularly with the bridges across the atrium, is that it gives people a chance to scan. And I hear people say to me, I never come to the library without talking to somebody or meeting someone. And we are living in really complex times, and I think we need public infrastructure. We need places that belong to all of us. And that creates the conditions for us to get to know each other better and connect better.
And this design has won some big awards.
It has won some big awards. So most recently, we got Rick Hansen Certification Gold for accessibility. We have a fabulous accessibility committee and staff who worked very hard to say, what does it mean to have a public building that is truly accessible? So very high scoring, one of only 2 libraries in Canada with the designation. It also won a Governor General's Award for Architecture and a Lieutenant Governor's Award for Architecture. So it has been celebrated. It has inspired other cities across Canada to think about where a central library can fit into building a strong and healthy community.
Well, talking about celebrations, you've got one coming up Saturday morning.
We have. So Saturday morning between 10 and 11:30, we encourage the community to come down. There'll be opportunities to have some fun, do some Central Library trivia, maybe have a slice of cake, really, be reminded of what we have in our community. This library was built by our community. The public was heavily involved in consulting on the design of it. We had lots of people make donations to help build the excellent collection at this library. We have staff who arrive every day and put their heart into serving the community. And a library without people wouldn't be a library. So every day I see this building full of people of all ages, and that tells me we're filling the role that our community needs us to fill.
Well, congratulations on the first 10 years.
Thank you. More to come.
Coming up, responding to Donald Trump's tariff threat, premiers weigh their options as Canada tries to avoid an all-out trade war. And the Toronto Humane Society has a new face of the organization, part of its charity drive to help pets affected by the cost of living crisis. Welcome back. Canada's premiers will meet in Toronto on Monday to discuss how to respond to Donald Trump's threatened 25% tariff. The federal government is trying to strike a Team Canada approach to tackling the potential crisis. BC has joined Ontario in publicly considering whether to cut off energy exports. But others say a trade war is a bad idea. Rafi Boudjikanian has the story for us from Ottawa.
Just days away from a meeting with his Canadian counterparts, Doug Ford is showing no signs of backing down.
We put a tariff on bourbon last time. LCBO is one of the largest purchasers of alcohol in the entire world. But I'd prefer not to do any of this. I'd prefer to make a deal with the energy that I mentioned the other day. That's another tool. But would I rather send them energy, sell them more energy? Absolutely.
Cutting off electricity is something British Columbia is now considering too.
British Columbia provides peak power support all the way down the west coast of the United States to Washington State, Oregon, and California. We sold $1 billion worth of electricity to those states last year.
Washington State is asking EB to put the brakes on that idea. In a statement, it said it would hurt people in both jurisdictions to stop that trade. We share the concern about tariffs on electricity imports from Canada, in particular the costs that this would impose on Washington consumers and businesses. No one wins by turning our closest friends into enemies.
We'll be announcing some pretty significant border security measures in the coming days.
The federal government telegraphing it's doing anything it can to ward off a trade war, while insisting a unified approach by elected officials here is still what's happening off camera, despite the bluster by some in front of them.
Premiers surprisingly answer questions from journalists when they're asked, and they don't all have the same views. That's as old as Confederation. But in the meetings I've been in and in my conversations with premiers, they recognize the importance of the country speaking with one voice.
Another such meeting is around the corner this weekend, and then the government says it will begin to reveal its border plan in the fall economic statement on Monday, with more to come over the week as it starts getting ready to add hundreds of border officers on the ground next year. Rafi Boudjikanian on CBC News, Ottawa.
The much publicized tax holiday takes effect tomorrow. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has promoted it as a festive gift to Canadians. But not everyone is thrilled. That includes businesses and consumers. Anis Haidari has more.
This retailer has a lot to do to prepare for a temporary tax cut.
We're trying hard. We're not throwing our hands up in the air. We're going to make a valiant attempt, but there's going to be some errors.
Hundreds, if not thousands of items have to be checked. Only some will be tax-free for 2 months, but it's not always clear what counts and what doesn't.
I mean, a child could use it or an adult could use it. So who is this primarily for? And I honestly cannot tell you. We sell it to everyone. Some new games, and we're trying to figure out.
It will be hours of work to adjust to the GST. That time will cost many businesses money.
There are huge compliance costs that are being pushed down to businesses. Reprogramming that has to happen basically at night on Friday, December the 13th. It's a giant mess.
All this may not boost holiday sales.
It's just not going to affect my shopping habit, really.
If I pick something and it happens to be included, that's going to be great. It'll be a nice surprise, but I'm not going to necessarily let that be sort of a driving criteria for what I'm shopping for.
I wish I knew about it earlier before I did all my shopping.
And dropping tax on a select list of items, like Christmas trees, has been criticized.
The types of goods that we're trying to subsidize aren't really the most important types of goods. So yeah, I truly believe that this is probably the worst designed tax policy or tax initiative we've seen in a decade.
Over in Calgary, Jennifer LeBlond would love a GST break, just not in mid-December.
It's a busy time of year. It's the wrong time of year for us to be doing it. I super appreciate in some ways the gesture, but it's causing a lot of work for us at this time of year.
A proverbial lump of coal in the stocking, but maybe 5% cheaper. Anis Haidari, CBC News, Calgary.
A Manitoba woman says she's going to lose her leg after a recent procedure, and she says the healthcare system is to blame. The CBC's Ian Fraze reports.
Roseanne Milburn used to live a full, active life. Now her husband fears that life is over. All because he says a surgeon started a procedure he couldn't finish.
The healthcare system failed my wife, and now because of that she's going to lose her leg.
Dan Milburn bought his wife something he never expected.
I can't be here all day and night to help her.
He got a scooter because Roseanne's right leg could be amputated.
She's emotionally ruined.
Roseanne waited over 6 years for the knee surgery she finally got in October. But then she got an infection. In late November, a surgeon removed dead tissue from her knee. She got transferred to Concordia Hospital for a consultation and was supposed to return to HSC to get her leg stitched up quickly.
And that's when they found out that there was no beds at HSC.
Instead, she was at Concordia waiting for her leg to get stitched up for 8 days. Once at HSC, she had surgery for another infection. Then she got the bad news.
Because she had been waiting too long with an open wound, that the leg wasn't salvageable.
So you got it.
He's been to HSC to see his wife every day.
I'm in constant pain 24/7. It feels like my leg is on fire.
Shared Health couldn't say much due to privacy legislation, but in a statement it said she has various options to consider and she will be the one to guide the care team in her preferred care plan. But Roseanne feels she doesn't have a choice. She says doctors recommended the amputation.
If I want the infection gone, that's my only option, and the doctor told me that's my only option.
The health minister says they're sympathetic.
This is a situation we never want to hear a Manitoban go through.
But Roseanne is blaming the healthcare system for starting something it couldn't finish.
I'm tired of the healthcare system passing the buck. I'm tired of it. Be accountable.
Until then, she waits and wonders if she'll ever get her old life back. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Turning now to the latest in the Middle East. 3 medical workers were wounded in Israeli airstrikes in and around a hospital in northern Gaza overnight. A local doctor says there were numerous drone and artillery strikes. Earlier, an Israeli airstrike on a post office killed 30 Palestinians who were sheltering there and wounded 50 others. That's according to local medics. Israel says it was targeting a senior Islamic Jihad member who has overseen strikes on Israeli civilians and troops. Israel has also accused Islamic militants of using civilian infrastructure as human shields. Well, a bulldog's face might not be everyone's idea of beauty and charm, but Toronto's Humane Society is making a bulldog the face of its charity drive. It's targeting a heartbreaking consequence of the affordability crisis, abandoned pets. The CBC's Tariq Reed has the story.
She's a pretty healthy, happy 4-month-old puppy at this point.
French bulldog Clementine is doing much better than she was when she was brought into the Toronto Humane Society in October. Clementine was left in a chip box in a Toronto park at just 8 weeks old. A crowd of onlookers found her bleeding until eventually someone jumped into action and took her to the shelter.
When she came in, our team were able to quickly realize that she had an emergency situation called a rectal prolapse. And so she needed surgery. It was really the only solution. And so thankfully, we were able to get the medical team responding really quickly.
She says if Clementine hadn't received timely treatment, she would have suffered life-threatening complications. Since her recovery, Clementine's been adopted into a new home. The Humane Society suspects Clementine was abandoned because her previous owners could no longer afford to care for her, something they say is becoming more common.
The rising costs of living are making it impossible for people to choose between their finances and emergency or care for their pets, and we want to help.
That help comes in the form of a new Keep Pets in the Picture campaign being launched by the Humane Society. It aims to raise money to assist those who are financially struggling to care for their pets, while encouraging owners to seek help if they need it.
We're talking about animal pet parents, we're talking about families, we want them to stay together.
Other animal shelters say they've also noticed an increase in abandoned pets and intake numbers.
I have over 1,500 requests just for 2024. Last year it was, I think 800 or 900. So we're seeing, an upward climb.
She says it's not only the cost of living that's contributing to the issue.
We don't have enough adopters. We don't have enough fosters. There are not enough rescues and shelters that can intake these pets.
The Humane Society is encouraging people to consider fostering a pet to ensure animals like Clementine always have a home. Tariq Reed, CBC News, Toronto.
The hit musical Bear Grease is back for another run at the National Arts Centre in Ottawa. The popular show reimagines the hit 1978 musical Grease with an Indigenous cast. And this time around, it has a holiday season twist. Sandra Abma has the story.
In Bear Grease, the teenaged star-crossed lovers Danny Zuko and Sandy are played by Bryce Morin, who hails from Treaty 6, Alberta, and Melody MacArthur of Big Stone Cree Nation. In this version, the duo first meet at a powwow, and their romance plays out on the res. Set in the 1950s, it's a rosy, joyful confection of familiar tunes, laughter, and dance. An escape from the real world of Indigenous struggles of the time.
Different realities, such as residential schools, boarding schools, and 60s scoops, right? So, we found that it was nice to kind of flip the script on the, that time and, create this alternate universe.
For award-winning performer Melody MacArthur, Bear Grease is a celebration of the spirit of Indigenous resilience.
What I love Bear Grease is that it's just a powerful medicine that changes perceptions for people, both Indigenous and non. Because, again, we're telling the story as if colonization never happened to us. So what would that look like? How much joy would that bring? How joyous would that be?
The musical has caught on with audiences across the continent since it debuted at the Edmonton Fringe Festival 3.5 years ago.
It was originally like a 20-minute set, and since then it's grown to a full-on production with an intermission and everything, new numbers, new choreography. It's taken us all over North America. We've been to Vegas, we've been to LA, we've been to, everywhere, Vancouver, you name it. It's colder, that's where it ends.
And it shows no signs of stopping. This version of Bear Grease is subtitled Shack Up for the Winter, and the performers have added a few holiday numbers to celebrate the season. Sandra Abma, CBC News, Ottawa.
Well, Canada's main stock index fell more than 100 points today, led by losses in base metal and telecom stocks. Here's a look at how the markets did as we head to break.
This is Nova Scotia. And this is Nova Scotia on your smart TV because CBC News is now streaming local. Get local headlines, weather, and community stories, plus newscasts and live programming on your favorite connected device, all for free. It's called the CBC News Nova Scotia streaming channel. See your community on your connected TV and mobile devices. Your local news streaming channel, now available.
Whether you're just waking up or you're on your way to work, we're here bringing you compelling stories from across the province.
And keeping you up to date with the latest in news, weather, sports, and traffic.
I'm Portia Clark.
And I'm Matt Brand.
Join us for Information Morning for the Mainland, weekdays on CBC Radio.
Hi, I'm Steve Sutherland in Sydney. If you want to know what's happening in Cape Breton Island or what's important to the people who live here, join me for Information Morning Cape Breton. News, views, interviews, live reports, reporters on the scene on matters of politics, art, community, current affairs. If it's being talked about in Cape Breton, we're talking about it on Information Morning. Every weekday morning from 6 to 8:37 on CBC Radio 1.
All right, a lot of folks cooped up because of the rain, but it sounds like this weekend is a good chance to get out and enjoy it.
Yeah, get outside and soak up some sunshine for sure. I mean, we're going to have to bundle up, so
right.
you'll be soaking it up on your face, but it is definitely going to be a very, very nice weekend. Have a look at our viewer picture of the day, and this one we're going to zoom in to the head of St. Margaret's Bay on a beautiful shot here from Peter LeBlanc.
That is a really nice shot.
It is. And nice Christmas lights there on the tree, just perfect.
It's a long extension cord to get to the lights.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it is impressive when you see even along parts of the highway where there's like a light that's a light display in it. Yeah. You think, how long is the extension cord to get there?
There's some effort into that,
for sure. And we'll always appreciate it to brighten everybody's mood. Now, as we look at the forecast for tonight, keep your eye on the sky in case you're just joining us.
Don't need an extension cord for that, right?
Definitely not. Mother Nature's light show. And this is the Geminids meteor shower, which is peaking tonight and tomorrow night. It'll be active right through till Christmas, but it is most impressive between midnight and 2 a.m. tonight and again tomorrow night. And the sky's pretty favorable. We do have some flurries out there this evening. Those are going to wrap up late evening into the early overnight, so pretty favorable conditions for viewing overnight. -2 to -4 for tomorrow. Note the winds across Cape Breton, sustained 30, gusting 40 to 50 kilometers per hour, especially for Inverness County, so it will be a bit breezier there. And the onshore flurries tonight may bring a dusting to northern areas, as you can see, and a dusting to Cape Breton, but it's Inverness County that will continue to see the onshore flurries tonight, tomorrow, and into Saturday evening. And that's where we could see some accumulation snow, for sure, looking at Inverness in the anywhere from 5 to 10 centimeter range for a good portion of that county, and higher terrain areas may see as much as 10 to 15 centimeters, especially up towards Cheticamp. So a heads up on that. That all wraps up on Sunday, and Sunday's just going to be a great day. We've got mostly sunny skies, temperatures set to range between around -2 and -4 for the mainland, closer to the freezing mark for Cape Breton. And there are those flurries this evening. Those wrapping up for the mainland, those onshore flurries continuing for Cape Breton into Saturday. There's the area of high pressure, which is going to just continue to dominate as we move through the next couple of days, which, again, it's been a long time since we had a stretch where we had like 3 or 4 days in a row of sunshine. So we'll take this. Now, note that system Monday evening working into the Great Lakes. That is, again, going to be bringing rain to them and rain to us. And so we'll be watching that one to move in Tuesday afternoon with some showers, some steadier rain possible Tuesday night. And then keeping an eye on that Thursday system, Amy. That one right now looks like kind of a mix for Nova Scotia, but may bring some accumulating snow to the New Brunswick region, depending on the track. So stay tuned for updates on that.
Keep an eye out. Well, you know, it's always a mad dash when you realize there are Christmas presents for you. Yeah, this zoo in Belgium decided to surprise its wild residents with some early holiday treats this week. Trunks, snouts, hooves, and paws made short work of the tasty gifts. But zoo visitors are also in for some additional treats this season.
They get to feast their eyes on a massive Christmas-themed light show. It includes a giant video projection over the zoo's lake and more than 1 million lights to help kick off the festivities.
That is impressive.
Yeah, very.
All right, well, that is it for us tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Have a great weekend.